This episode is proudly sponsored by Ramset, manufacturer and supplier to the Australian construction industry for over 70 years. Started in Australia, still in Australia, staying in Australia. Welcome to another episode of the Built Different podcast, the podcast for tradies that are built different.
Brought to you by HIA. This is the show where you learn everything that you need to know to make it in the Australian building and construction industry. I'm your host, Ryan.
And I'm Simon.
Simon, what have you been up to this week?
Oh, mate, it's been a pretty busy week, but I've had a bit of a personal win, and we've just finished a flooring system, and we're putting all the floor joists on, and I managed to hand nail off all the floor joists without smacking my fingers for the first time. So that was a little win for me, which I was pretty happy about. The last house that we did, I got literally to the last bracket. I was like, yeah, I don't think I've hit my finger yet. And then I've literally on the last bracket smacked it. So I was determined to get a clean run.
It's the little wins, right?
It's the little wins. Yeah, I'm still getting there.
So today's episode is all about choosing your passion and finding your path.
How good. Who we got in the studio with us?
Simon, we know the old saying, jack of all trades and master of none.
Yeah.
And, we hear a lot about successful tradies that have found their niche and really lent into it. And that's what we're talking about today. And today joining us, we've got Darren Brown, aka the AussieDeckingChippie.
Thanks, boys.
To help us impart some wisdom about finding a niche.
Beautiful.
Mate, thanks for coming on. This one excites me because I always think about finding a niche. Like it's so exciting if you can find that and really hone that skill. But at the same time, how do you balance that without pigeonholing yourself? So I'm really keen to get your thoughts on this today. But before we kick off, I want to play a little game with you both and put you to the test and see well you guys know your power tools.
I'm going to get stitched up.
Yeah, Ryan, I know that you haven't spent much time on site, but I'm going to see how you go. And look, for the record, my wife picked 3 from 3 of these. So that's what you're up against.
Right.
Okay, so to give you a little bit of a hint today, we have we're running Makita 18-volt power tools, and I will play you a sound. The first of it will be the tool running by itself, and then see if you can get it from that, and then we'll move to it working in timber. So play along at home, see how many of these you can get. You ready for the first one?
Yep, let's go.
Right,
Let's go.
What do we think this one is?
Mate, I'm going to take a stab and say that's a drill. It's got to be a drill of some sort.
That's a jigsaw.
Hey, closer with the jigsaw, but both of you are technically incorrect. Let us put it into wood and see if you can pin which one this is. All right.
Oh, I know what that is.
All right, so it's a multi-tool of some sort.
What is it,
That's
mate?
a reciprocator.
It's a reciprocating saw. There we go.
Is there something called a multi-tool? Surely there is.
There is.
And that is kids. That's what it sounds like.
Well done. Okay, so Darren 1, Ryan 0. Okay, next one. That wasn't a lot, but might be an easy one to get.
Orbital sander.
Yeah, he's got it straight up. Do you reckon you would have got that one?
No, I'm glad I was able to sit that one out, actually.
That's good. Well, my wife was very good at, she was very quick to identify that one. She spent a lot of time using it when we did our renos at home. All right, so the next one I've got, here we go. Ryan, do you want to try guess first?
I can picture it in my head. I just don't know the name of it.
Yeah, okay.
So it's a thing that doesn't really have a sharp blade on it, but it kind of, you cut into gyprock with it, I think.
No, everything's got a sharp blade on it.
All right, that's a jigsaw.
That is a jigsaw.
Yeah.
Well done.
I was close. Come on.
That's pretty good. There you go. Well, look, you've done pretty well considering. I don't actually believe you run Makita.
No, I don't run
work.
Makita at all. I always give it to the boys at work that run it.
Yeah. Well
but
done.
you're always either yellow or blue, aren't you? So.
Yeah. Well, teal.
All red now. All red
yeah. There you go. Well done, mate. And
right.
Ryan, I think you did pretty well. Getting.
I don't know. I don't think I did very well at all.
Look, we'll work on it in the coming weeks.
Yeah, there's a bit of time.
All right. So let's jump into it.
So Darren, one thing we like to kick off each pod with is talking about snacks, and that's your go-to smoko snack. What's tickling your taste buds at the moment?
Oh, big fan of the My Muscle chefs, actually.
Oh, yes.
I take them to work all the time. It's the only thing that can get me through the day, and I do get bagged. Sometimes I the boys do say I have like a little kid's school lunchbox. So I always put chocolates in there. I don't mind a muesli bar and stuff like that. So I don't mind a little packet of chips while I'm in there as well.
yeah,
Got to
you
burn
need
a little bit of energy.
You need it.
So you've always got the microwave in the trailer as well.
I've just got a new trailer, so I'm going to set that up. So I've always do the My Muscle Chef's cold. I don't know.
Really? What?
Yeah, everyone bags me about it.
No way.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I prefer them cold.
Cold pizza too.
Yeah,
Oh,
100%. It's
see?
better the second
That
day.
is
100%.
wild. Yeah, I'd sacrifice a few of my tools to fit a microwave. It's essential.
Yeah.
So tell us, let's take us back to day one. What sort of apprentice were you?
I was shocking.
Yeah?
I was so bad.
What do you mean?
I stuffed up everything I put my hands on.
Yeah.
It was, I still remember I did boss told me to cut back a roof for a box gutter, and there was 3 flick lines. And I went from the first one to the second one to the third one.
Yeah.
Put a curve in the roof.
Yep.
And dropped the box gutter in. It was 100 mil short. All these existing roof sheets, and that just caused leak after leak after leak. So I was that was one of my first big balls ups when I was a
Did you only make that mistake once?
No, I kept making it. I always had my mind somewhere else, which was not good. But my boss used to actually make a joke with me and said if I didn't work so hard, he would have sacked me.
Yeah.
So I guess that's probably what I go for. Me with a good work ethic.
Yep.
Yeah. No, well, obviously can get you out of trouble.
Exactly.
So did you start off doing some roofing?
No, I was an apprentice to a builder, so we did everything from start to finish.
Gotcha.
So it was whether it would be digging holes, you always had to go through the stage of digging holes when you're an apprentice.
That's
and
it.
we never used to get backhoes in or anything, so it was all done by hand and wheelbarrow. So
It's actually a great way to get that grounding and get the experience across the board about what it's like to kind of do everything. And,
Yeah, exactly.
Then it helps you learn what you like, what you don't like.
Exactly.
And then you're like, I sure as hell don't want to be shoveling dirt. Or actually, like, you know what? I don't mind that.
But it was good to see how the foundations come up from the ground level up. So
Yeah.
you weren't just relying on someone to come and do the concreting. I was seeing how that was done. We'd pour the concrete. We'd do everything from ground level up. So I guess, in a sense, I was pretty lucky when I got that as an apprenticeship that I could do that from start to finish. So
I was actually the same. The first bloke that I worked for, we started off doing everything. And it didn't just feel like a carpentry apprenticeship. It felt like I was doing a building apprenticeship.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's so many good things that came from that, and learning stuff that I wouldn't typically do if I was just a chippy going through there. And having that as grounding to be able to build on and stuff. Like, it just enables you to know where you need to go and work out, get a little bit of a taste for everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And, then you're definitely like, that was good. And I'm going to pass on that and make sure that I definitely don't want to end up doing that again.
100%.
That's me with plastering. I'm not a fan of it at all.
No.
But I find
Leave you out of
myself
that.
doing it all the time.
So, you made a lot of mistakes, obviously, through your apprenticeship. You've mentioned that. How did you make sure that you got better?
I guess it was just learning and watching.
Yep.
And I have a quite obsessive attitude of when I get something wrong, I really beat myself up about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've been like that my entire life. So I guess if I got something wrong, I'd take it home and I'd take it really on board.
Yep.
And I'd try and learn from your mistakes. And I think that's probably the best thing is that because I took it on board so much, I used to get angry if I did it a second time. So, so that was how, mind you though, I still did it, but I think it was just through lack of skill.
Yep.
So,
So it comes with time,
yeah,
experience.
definitely.
Yep.
Definitely.
So what was the biggest mistake that you made, do you think?
Oh, geez, it was probably a few years ago, I think. Actually got a whole 10 balconies powder coated the wrong colour aluminium.
Oh.
Which was
So client wasn't happy about that?
no, that was actually when I was working for another decking company and I didn't read the contract. Went through the walkthrough with the owner and we both said the same thing and just went off the whim, had it written in my notes, didn't look at the contract.
Yep.
Delivered.
Did the customer pick it up immediately?
So we actually got them delivered to site. First 5 balconies were installed.
Yep.
And then they
no.
called me and said, we've got the wrong colour.
No.
Far out.
And that was, my heart sunk. That was,
Yeah, that hurts.
That was about 25 grand.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Whoops.
But you learn. I mean, you learn from those mistakes.
Well, I look at every contract now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And reread the plans and everything like that.
So that's not a mistake you'll make again.
No, definitely. Oh, don't touch wood.
And look, if you can't learn from, you have to learn from your own mistakes.
Yeah.
But actually, it's really handy learning from other people's mistakes and hearing about what people do, because then you could, hear about the cost implications and that kind of stuff.
Definitely.
Take that on board and you're like, okay, I'll add that one to the list of things not to do.
Yeah, things to know. Yep. So tell us about your journey up until this point. You're the AussieDeckingChippie now. The AussieDeckingChippie. How'd you get to here?
Started my apprenticeship when I was 16, went through, actually left, got on advice from my old boss and said, I want you to go work with this guy who did his apprenticeship under him. So,
yeah.
And when I went to him, he was probably the best chippy I've ever seen. He was fast, he was neat, and the crew that they had, so I just jumped on board with them. So we used to just do, knock up frames from start to finish, do full homes. But yeah, so that's when I sort of knew I love framing. So I was always a go-to with framing.
Yeah.
Like
really good at one thing.
Yeah, I was really, like I said, I was really bad in my apprenticeship, but I was really good at TAFE. And I really wanted to be a TAFE teacher. So, and then, and then just went through, just subbing my entire life until sort of just found a niche with decking and just wanted to kick on with it. So, yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's
what today's all about is finding that that niche.
Yeah.
Like, so you just stumbled across decking or...
the guy who I did work for first in the decking company, I was doing a lot of their work for him, and then realised that this is exactly what I wanted to do. So
that's awesome.
I did start another decking company, and it got really big really fast. And it was more concentrated in the South Coast, but then the other guys wanted me on full time, so I went back full time with them. And
So you started out yourself. Went back and worked for someone else. And then now
back out by myself again. Yeah.
Beauty.
So yeah, I think it just I did realise that the decks that I did want to do are probably not assigned to a high volume deck builder.
Yeah, right.
They need to be just for a single person. So yeah,
bit of intricacy in it.
Yeah, I do prefer doing that. There's a few things I do which people might think is over the top, but you can't really.
It's the attention to detail, right?
Yeah, I think the other guys, they've got good attention to detail, but I do go overboard with a few things. I've got really bad OCD, so.
But that's got to help, especially when you are working in such a niche and your whole brand and your name and your business is all related back to that, right?
Yeah, that's true. And I have noticed there has been a fair few things going. I suppose the composite boards out here react different in the Australian conditions, what they do in the US conditions. So I've been working with other companies to try and work on how do we solve this, and we're just doing a lot more things now differently out here than what they do in the Northern Hemisphere as well. So just little things like that. Like I said, it throws a lot more into what we do. But in the end, I know when I go back there, instead of leaving the job, I like to go back a couple of months later, see how it's weathering.
Settled.
How it's settling and that. So yeah.
So have you had a bit of exposure to building practices in the US?
Yeah, I'm actually obsessed with watching them, to be honest. So
Oh, right.
Yeah, I still reckon they're about 10 years ahead of us.
Yeah.
Like we're still getting they're into their third and fourth gen composite boards now. So it's just interesting to see how they build things on, especially on frost lines and everything like that. So I do watch that quite a fair bit. And
so when you say watch it, you just keep an eye on the industry, or you actually finding
both?
YouTube?
Yeah, both. I find a couple of guys on there that I really follow.
Yeah.
And just follow them.
Anyone in particular for our listeners?
Jason Russell, Dr. Dex was the first one who got me onto all the board bending and that. And there's a couple other guys too. So yeah, just really Jason Russell's he's probably the benchmark over there.
Yeah, right.
So.
And this is obviously like so important that you're, researching, learning, to, I guess, better your experience and carve out your niche. And you've obviously done a pretty good job of combining your passion, because you can just hearing you talk about it now, you're passionate about it, and your attention to detail. Sounds like you're really good at it. So you found this great balance there. How important is the education side of what you do to ensure that you're, staying ahead of the game and doing the best job you can?
Oh, it's just I do a lot of research in the materials we use. So if a new material comes on the market, I really won't implement it until I've used it a fair bit and out at home. And so it's like it's like a little laboratory at home where that's where I first started doing all the heat folded corners, where I was making them up at home, saw the guys did them in the US, stayed at home, tried to do them, and then just left them out in the sun to see how they.
So what's a heat folded corner? Are you cutting the back out of the boards?
People watch this. I hate doing miters. They just open up over time. They look terrible. So we basically cut the back of it out, heat the board up, and then fold it around the corner. So you don't have that expansion and contraction on the miter. So it's all hidden behind the joint. So I I chucked all them out the back when I was just letting them to see how they did in the sun, and they seemed to hold up. So I thought I could start using it. So
yeah, nice. So do you have a deck at home that's like just a whole bunch of different decking boards?
It's that they're in the garage at the moment, but if you saw my deck at home, you'd go, "There's no way in the world this bloke does." Yeah, I had so much trouble about it at home because as soon as I bought the place, my wife said, "We've got to let's do the deck," and I said, "I'm not touching that until the DA's in." And it's starting to rot. It's starting to do everything now, so it looks terrible.
Oh, that's so funny, and especially when you're like doing it every day.
Oh,
It's the last thing you want to do. Feel like doing when you get home, right?
Exactly, 100%.
Oh, that's awesome.
So going into business, not once but twice. What did you learn from the first time that you wanted to take into the second time?
It was the management side of things.
Yeah, okay.
On how I would manage the company itself, and that's where I was all grateful for One Decks and Decking Sydney, who I was working at, is that I could watch how two companies manage their stuff and how they ran multiple teams, and because I'm at the moment we've got 3 teams going, but I make sure that I'm on site with them all the time.
Yep,
like
great.
like if I duck off to to pop in here, I'm in there in the morning, so I was in there with them until 12 o'clock today.
Yep.
Great.
Just being with them because. There's no. I think
Jumping on the tools.
Yeah, I love it. I have to be on the tools. If I'm not on the tools, I'm not working. As far as I'm concerned. Even when I get home and do my books, I think I'm not working. So, but So in terms of the running the business side, money in the bank, certain amount of jobs in the pipeline.
Yep.
And when I got there, put on a skilled labourer who's still with us and it's unbelievably good.
Yeah, great.
Virtually like a tradie.
Yep.
And then started to expand slowly. Just wasn't just putting guys on for the sake of putting guys on because I've got 3 months worth of work ahead of me. So I was very particular.
Yep.
With your experience there, when you say managing your business, does your energy more go towards managing the staff and the workflow, or managing the structure of managing clients and the bookwork and stuff like that? How do you see that?
Probably the structure, because I think the hardest thing is keeping everyone happy. Mm-hmm. And the good thing about the guys I've got working with us now is that they're very, very good boys, and they clean up after every day. It's just like they're got ingrained in how I work. So it's and that's why I think that's why it's imperative that you're on site with them as well.
Yeah.
Because if you're the guy who's just sort of talking from your ivory tower saying do that, do this,
and you're on site setting an example, making it happen.
Exactly. So in terms of I think with the way the company was sort of based is that the way, even the name of it, I've got to sort of be the face of it. I can't just can't just say, oh yeah, here's a job that you'll see these boys. I'll see at the end of the job. So I think that's a big thing as well. Just being a presence there all the time.
Yeah, true.
So you mentioned that you were working, or the couple of guys that you were working for before you started this time round, you kind of learnt the best bits of what they were doing.
Yeah.
What were those specific things that you brought into this time around?
I think the management software systems behind the actual build, and having the company set up properly into making sure that the back room was set up first before you went out there. The quoting system was right. It was the way everything was formatted, how that all looked as well. So I sort of picked and choose what I liked the best out of both of them and took them into this. So
that's the beauty of working for lots of different people, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So is it safe to say that the second time round you you made sure that you covered off the things that you might have overlooked in the first time round?
Yeah, definitely. And it was, like I said before, it wasn't just the biggest thing for me was making sure I had everything set up before I started putting guys on, not just for the sake of putting guys on.
Yeah, because it's running a company, it's bigger than just you.
Exactly.
Right? You're not a sole trader, you're running a fully fledged business.
Exactly right, exactly. And you got to, and the other thing too is, I suppose as tradies, one thing that everyone oversees is that, you work for a company, but you think that company's got the money there's yours, but it's not really.
Yeah.
And you need to make sure that it's set up properly. So even just where I used to try and do all my own accounting and that, I just got my brother-in-law doing that for me now. He's an accountant, he's a qualified accountant. So I said, so from day one, that's all yours to look after now, not me. So just even to the point now where I'm like an actual employee to the company as well. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well set up and structured from day one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So going back to, I guess, channeling out your niche there. Look, I'm an apprentice, and down the track, I have those big dreams to be running my own company there. What made you go down a specialized route like decking as opposed to being one of those jack of all trades builders there? Because from where I sit now, I can see there's a lot of pros and cons for both sides, particularly in like pigeonholing yourself and putting your name against one certain thing. But the benefits from that of really specializing, doing it really well and carving out a name for yourself, what that means for the opportunity to grow the business.
Yeah. Well, I think it's keeping yourself happy because there's a lot of things with aspect of building that I don't like.
Yep.
Like I don't mind fixing out, but I hate hanging doors. So if I knew I had a day of hanging doors ahead of me, I'd be thinking about that all day and all night until I got to work.
Yep.
Even sometimes I do things that I know I've got a day that I probably don't enjoy the most coming up. I'll think about it all night, but then I think about, okay, if I was hanging doors for the day, I'll tell you what, I'd be probably in a bit worse of a mood. So I've got to make sure that I'm happy what I'm doing every day, and then it's not a drag on me. Because I did actually for a few years, for about 2 years, I did install in commercial windows on big sites, and I hated that, and it put me in a massive state of depression, and I hated going to work every day.
Yep.
I hated. I couldn't wait for the weekends.
Windows on commercial sites. I mean, that's quite monotonous,
it's so
right?
repetitive. But it was good money, but the money didn't matter because I just wasn't enjoying it.
It gets to a point where there's got to be more to it.
Exactly, and if you're not right mentally at work, it makes your life a hell of a lot harder.
Yep.
Even though as much stress as I can get, I know that there's always a good day around the corner. So
before the podcast, we were talking about a little bit about profit and what that means to you, and balancing happiness as we just kind of spoke about there. How are you focused on profit coming into starting your new business here this time around?
I never used to really run on profit before. That was the thing. I never used to even review projects to see if they made money. It was just a flat rate. Now that I have the overheads that we've got, I've said to my accountant, what's it going to cost us to make money on this job? And then just make sure that I've got enough to be covered. Because it's a fine line with decking too. If you go in way too high thinking you're going to get a big profit, you can price yourself out of work really quick because it's not a small. You're there to create a small space, or even a big space on some projects.
Yeah.
But the main thing is that I do have the boys covered as well. Like there's going to be days where you don't make money. That's as simple as that. And you've got to realize that some days you might make a mistake and you might order the wrong materials and that doesn't happen. But in the long term, I think it's just instead of assessing, probably the best thing I learned off another guy who runs a decking company in the Shire as well, really good mates with Phil. And he said, don't assess things per job, assess things for every 3 months.
Yep.
So he goes, because things come in flows and you probably know that things come in threes.
Yep.
So you could get 3 bad jobs and then you're in a bad mood for... So assessing, I do assess things every 3 months to see how we're tracking.
And what does that assessment look like?
Oh, it's basically... me accountant looking after it. And then saying that this is what we added. But in saying that, with the project manager software that I use, it does give me an idea of where we track them per job. So I do virtually go over all the numbers. So you actually
have a chance to reflect on each job and see.
And I've got a target on what I want to make per day. That's after you've paid everyone out. And I don't assess that to the end of the job either, or every 3 months. But I'll go through them jobs because if I assess it every day, do I make X amount on that day?
Kicking yourself.
Oh, exactly right. So you'll be in a panic the next day. I need to make double that now. So it all just seems to come out in the end if you're doing it right.
Yeah.
So
I was just going to say, it's not that funny. You turn up with like a couple of tins of tuna and be like,
exactly.
sorry guys, a bit of a tough day today.
So it's by the sounds of it, you kind of also got to be looking well ahead, right?
Yep.
It's not just winning the job for next week or anything like that. It's thinking 3 months down the track.
Yeah.
Are we making enough now to sustain us into the future?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a bit of a mindset thing as well.
Yep.
What was your biggest inspiration about getting into decking? And when I know you spoke about getting your expertise from online and stuff, but what really ignited that fire for you?
I think it was the sense of every time I'd left work when I was doing a deck, when I was just subcontracting, every time I left work, I was in a good mood when I was doing decking. And it's still pretty hard work on your body. Like it's not easy.
That was actually my next question. How's your back?
My shoulders gone, my back's gone, my knees gone.
Yeah.
So it's but in saying that, it's like I was leaving work not in a bad mood, and that's when I thought this needs to happen every day.
Yeah.
Not but some days you do leave it home in a bad
Yeah, naturally, like
yeah,
as
exactly
it ebbs
right.
and flows. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is so satisfying building a deck, and it's a visual product, a finished product, which does take so much love and attention goes into it, and it really finishes off an area.
Yeah.
Such a critical living space for Australian people.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's always looked at too. It's not as if you're building a frame, they're going to slap some gyprock on it.
Yeah.
And it's it's always going to be there to see.
Yeah.
So that finished or the quality workmanship shows up at the end. It's not hidden behind anything.
Yeah.
So
even the framework that's up high, you got to make sure that's looking neat.
So important. Yeah.
So there's always something there, for you to kind of take pride in.
Yeah.
At the end of every job, pretty much.
Exactly. Yep.
Do you mind if I nerd out a little bit and ask about some of the specifications about your decking? What kind of materials have you been using a lot? You've spoken a little bit about eco decks and
I don't use that as much. I've got really 5 brands I stick to.
Yeah,
I won't sit there and name them, but I've just.
But like you go timbers, timber you go to, or
so I get all my materials through one company, but they deal with all the composite boards I use. So the composite boards that I use, I've just known that I've used them over the years. I've tried and tested them, but main thing too is that I've got a good relationship with the guys behind the scenes there, and I think that's really important too. If you chop and change what you're using, and I suppose that's a bit different. I suppose for a high volume builder who's doing different materials here and there, but because I'm so specialised in doing decks, I think it's really important that I do get a good relationship with these composite companies because in the end, you're dealing with a man-made product and it can fail. So you can have a batch issue, you can have any of that. And if you do have a good relationship with them and you go, look, guys, I've got a batch issue, you've got sort of a bit of help there behind the scenes.
and
you're
probably picking it up a lot earlier as well.
Exactly, yeah, it's exactly. And the thing is too, if I go, okay, guys, I've got a bit of an issue here, can you help me out? If I've installed 25 of their decks in the last 6 months, they're going to go, okay, yeah, we'll help you out.
He knows what he's talking about.
Exactly. So it's, or, we can't afford to, is he going to keep using our product if we don't use it? So if we don't help him out. So, but that's really good too. And the guys behind the scenes, like with those decking companies, they're really good as well.
Yeah.
Really good.
And my next question is, when you're specializing in decks in that certain area of building, your tools are probably so much more important as well because you need something that's so reliable and you're putting so much time through them. How important has it been to road test your tools and get the best quality for the equipment that you're working with?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that most tradies stick to their one brand, and we're pretty hard on our gear on site. Like I admit, I'm pretty hard on it. So if it fails, I'll need to make sure that it's back up in the trailer as well. So I like to keep always a few different materials, like a few different tools on me. So
mate, conveniently, Ramset is a sponsor of the show at the moment, and I hear that they got you out of a sticky situation recently. Do you want to talk about that one?
Yeah, they helped me out big time. Hannah gave us a hand, so I was I'm obsessed with the old J20. It was my favourite tool when I was an apprentice.
So to the people who aren't on site, what's the old J20?
So the old J20 is a powder actuated tool that it was a single shot. So you virtually put a shell behind the nail that looked like a 22 shell.
Yeah, right.
And they're super strong, like they're really strong. And they don't make the charges anymore. So I had all these charges sitting in the bottom of my box, but they're all yellow. I needed a red one.
Yeah.
A couple of red ones. I couldn't find them anywhere. I rang around everywhere. Rang up Hannah Ramset, said, look, can you give us a hand? I need to find these shells. I don't care what it cost me to get them. And they said, no, we'll give you one of the new ones. So give you one of the Frameboss. So gave that a bit of a whirl and never looked back now. But I think I might put the J20 in the office on the
wall.
bed. Yeah.
So the Framemaster gets a bit of a workout these days?
It does really good. So it's got a bit of grunt behind it too, which I had one of the years and years ago. I had one of the single shot. It wasn't a Ramset one. I won't say what it was, but, and it didn't have the juice. So when I got it, I thought it's probably not going to be as good as what the J20 was. But I'll tell you what, it was bloody good.
Well, we've used them a little bit as well, and just actually having 10 pins from your 10 shots, all there, especially when you're whipping up a frame, bloody quick.
100%, 100%.
Do you have any advice for apprentices when you're actually looking to grow your tool setup, particularly when it comes to quality versus cost?
Yeah, I think it's start off small. Don't go. I suppose one thing I always see apprentices rocking up now is the 50 grand ute.
Yep.
Yeah, wow.
So it's
shiny toys.
Yeah, had a lot of issues at a couple of other companies where the apprentice was rocking around a 50, 60 grand ute.
Yep.
You know, third year apprentice with no gear.
Yeah.
And it was I was pretty fortunate when I was growing up in my apprenticeship. I was playing semi-professional footy at the time, so all my money I used from footy was to go into buying a tool setup.
Yep.
Which I know a lot of people don't have that luxury to lean on. But before that, I was accumulating tools. Just accumulate them as you go.
Yep.
Don't have to go out and do the big buy all of a sudden.
Yep.
But I suppose back then we weren't there weren't no such thing as cordless kits even when I was at a
Yeah, true.
You couldn't go out and just buy a big kit. Which,
Mate, I can't imagine what it would have been like to be running power leads all over a site. Like,
Yeah,
that must have
100%.
been chaos.
100%, definitely.
So in terms of, helping apprentices kind of make that gradual tool purchase, every month or, a few months or whatever, do you got any tips to help them kind of get it over the line? Is it just as simple as sort of, budgeting or?
I think you need a budget because you do get a tool allowance, so just maybe put that tool allowance aside.
Yep.
And the other thing too is don't go into debt to buy tools because
It's not worth it.
No, exactly. And I know a couple of kids who did put it on credit cards and racked up like 10 grand on a credit card, but time you pay that off as an apprentice, you could be the tools will be gone.
Yeah, and it's nice to have everything kitted out and stuff, but. Look, from my advice, after doing it for a couple of years, I'd say have a think about what you're doing on the day to day, what you want to be doing more of, and where you want to be, what you can do independently. So when you are doing a job by yourself,
exactly.
What can you be self-sufficient to do, and start having to think about what you do like and what you're good at and what does make you happy, and start tailoring your kit towards that.
Exactly. And there's heavier tools where you don't need as an apprentice. Like you need stuff like a little jigsaw, a circular saw, reciprocator lathe, because if you are in a bind by yourself, like you said, if you're up the under in the job and the boss at the at one end and you haven't got your kit with you, you need something like that. You don't need jackhammers, you don't need even realistically, you shouldn't really need a nail gun in the first or second year.
But you want to balance it nicely so by the time you qualify or even end of fourth year,
you're ready to go.
You're ready to go.
You're not rushed to buy everything in one hit.
Yeah.
So it's really about making the smart choice, about looking ahead, figuring out where you want to go, and then making your the smart tool choice towards that goal.
Yep.
Speaking of apprentices, how are you looking about growing the team, and are you getting any new apprentices on board?
Yeah,
and what
so
are you looking for?
We've got an apprentice starting next week.
Yeah,
good
it's
young
exciting.
kid. Yeah, I'm really excited to get him on board. So he's from the area, local kid.
Yep.
He's only 16 or 17.
So school based?
He's still in school, which has been a little bit of a sticky point because I remember when I was an apprentice, I left at 16. I just left school, just went in. But I think that's what's making it hard these days is that the amount of forms we had to fill out to get him out of school is it's pretty. I don't know why it is in place now.
Well, you got it because we want kids earning or learning.
Yeah, exactly. But I look back at the maths and all the English that I never used it when I went to school. But then again, I suppose these days a lot of kids aren't sure what they want to do when they leave. I think you got to be really set in your mind. Yet this is what I want to do before I do leave and take up that apprenticeship. Where back in the other day it was like if I didn't like my apprenticeship as a carpenter, a lot of kids just ran out and did a plumber or just change their apprenticeship because they're already out of school, so they weren't going to get back in. So I think now with the stuff that's in place, that all the forms have to be filled out, and you need to make sure that's exactly what you want to do. So
and what do you think of the new generation, the new talent coming through?
I think it's a bit old school. We always turn around and say, back in my
Back
day.
in my day.
Because the next generation that comes through will always think they're better. And always, you know what? They probably will be better because the technology,
it's just part of life now.
Exactly. And I've known myself. Like when I was an apprentice, I knew I could do all my advanced roofing, all my calculations. I could transfer everything from the calculator onto a set square and build a roof like that.
Oh, yeah.
Even a set of stairs. I use apps now for everything.
It's all done for you.
And I've had guys like on Instagram when I show it saying, you can't even do that. You're not even a proper carpenter if you can't set that on a set square. But I don't see the point. If you've got an app there that helps you, use it.
Work smarter.
Exactly. Exactly. You're not going to walk 15K because you think it's better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to drive there, aren't you?
Shout out to my year 10 maths teacher who always said, you'd never be walking around with a calculator in your pocket all day.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it's good.
All right, so look, that's just about all we've got time for on the pod today. But before we do wrap up, where can our listeners find you?
We basically do everything on Instagram. So at AussieDeckingChippie. Do run things through Facebook as well, but to be honest, I'm pretty illiterate with all this. Everyone says you get on TikTok. I'm not. Nah.
No dances
Well, let the
coming up.
apprentice do that when he starts. We'll let him start the page. So
That's good. All right, we'll follow you on on Instagram there then.
no.
Excellent. Well, mate, thank you very much for coming on board and
Been
joining
awesome,
us for the podcast today. We've had an absolute blast talking to you, and that's given me some great direction about what I need to do and think about when down the track, and I'm thinking about, do I want to be one of those jack of all trades or carving out my niche? Definitely taking a lot into consideration. So thanks for that.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank you.
boys.
Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, boys.
So for our listeners at home, jump onto Instagram at Built Different Australia and give us a follow. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. That's been another episode of the Built Different podcast, the podcast for tradies that are
Built different.
This episode was brought to you by Ramset. Simon, you as an apprentice know just how tough it can be as an apprentice on a construction site.
Mate, I certainly do.
And that's why Ramset are dedicated to supporting the next generation with the Ramset Apprentice Program.
Right now, Ramset are giving apprentices all over Australia the opportunity to win $6,000 worth of tools and gear for a limited time. Whether you're a chippy, a sparky, or a plumber, or anything in between, head to www.ramset.com.au/apprentice program 2023 to learn more and enter to win. Get set with Ramset.